Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to this short webinar on T-levels. This evening is the first of 4 evenings of a little look at our T-levels that we are offering this September, and tonight we are looking at the education, health and science T-levels. Now what we'd like to ask our attendees to do is, if you have any questions, do ask them as we go through the information. The reason we ask for that is because there's a delay. By the time you've seen our images and heard us, 30 seconds or so will have passed. So do ask the question so that we don't miss anything at the end. So the way we will organise this is we're going to cut across to my colleague Claire Grimwood in a moment. She's going to introduce the education and health T-levels. And then my colleague Azadin Riash will talk about the science pathways. And we're also lucky to be joined by one of our current learners on the T-levels programme as well. So if we're ready to go over to Claire, we will have a look at education and health.
Evening everybody, my name is Claire Grimwood. So I'm going to talk to you today about our T-level in education and childcare, and also health as well. So I'm also going to talk to you about sort of the overview of T-levels, what they are, and then I'll come back to you later after Azadin's spoken about science and healthcare science, about why you might choose Farnborough College of Technology, progression opportunities, and also what to do next. So T-levels really are the newest qualification. They really are brand new, written with employers, and I think they're perfect for the type of learner who is interested in being more practical in their studies. So yes, there's still a lot of theory. It is equivalent to 3 A-levels, but there is also a really strong industry placement theme all the way through. We focus on theory, we focus on skills and knowledge. It really does boost your career prospects, those hands-on technical skills. It's what employers are looking for. That's the feedback that we get. It's what employers say. They want people to work with them who have got the skills and the knowledge. As I said, equivalent to 3 A-levels. We talk about careers and universities next. In terms of how the programme is set up, it's a 2-year programme. The first year is core content. As I said, those theories, skills, concepts within either it might be education, childcare, health, science, healthcare science. And then in the second year, there's a choice with more occupational specialism or specialist content. And so we'll talk through some of those after. And then, as I mentioned before, we have that industry placement with an employer that is relevant to your occupational specialism that's chosen. So the next slide is a quote from one of our students, Pfizer. She's currently in her 2nd year on the programme. She's on education and childcare. You'll notice when I talk about that, there is a really strong emphasis on placements. There's 45 days placement as a baseline for all of the T-levels. In education and childcare, there is an extended expectation for more hours in placement related to the practical side this career pathway has. So I'm going to talk to you about education and childcare now. And so thank you, Katie. Just to start off with some related careers, in case you're wondering, what would you do? Why might you choose a T-level in education and childcare? And so some of the roles or some of the jobs or careers that you might go to straight away, things like nursery worker, teaching assistant, play worker. We have some students who are interested in working with children with special educational needs. There is also an option to go to university after, but these are some of the careers that you can go straight into after doing that T-level. Also, just to talk about some of the core content that you'll see, some of the subjects that we study in year 1. So we've got child development, and just to note that it covers all those ages from 0 to 19, managing behaviour, as I said, special needs. So I think that's a really exciting part as well. That's a new aspect that's included in this T-level, and obviously reflective practice being key within that as well. We have 2 occupational specialisms that you can choose from. We have assisting teaching, and it's all about supporting teaching to support children's education. So predominantly for those that are looking to work in a school or education type setting. That could be a primary school, infant school, secondary school, or in further education as well. Or we have the early years education and childcare route for those that want to work with very young children. We're talking nurseries, nannies, and things like that. So Chloe is one of our assisting teaching students. She's going to talk to you now about her experience on the T level. So I'll hand over to you, Chloe. Just need to remember to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yes. Hi. So like Claire said, I'm a second year student and I've chosen the assisted teaching pathway. So unfortunately I started the course in COVID, so our first year was very different to what it is for first years this year, but all of our learning side of it is exactly the same. So first year we covered 12 elements. We covered things from SEND, so children with additional needs, to safeguarding, to behaviour, parents, working with others, and basic child development. First year was very, and I'm going to be honest, very lecture driven, and there was a lot of information. But luckily, a lot of our assignments were very mixed up. So we had PowerPoints we had to create, as well as essays. And our teachers tried to make it as interactive as they could for our assignments. So you weren't just sat there all the time writing essays. In first year, we had one exam, an employer set project that is, you do it in exam conditions. However, you are allowed to bring in notes to support your learning that you've taken on board. And our one was to plan a lesson. I'm hoping I remember that right. I think it was planning a lesson we had to do. But you had a lot of information you could take in and anything you thought you would forget. And first year I loved, even though it was very different and we did it in a whole different way. It was a great experience, and you learn so much in that first year that you end up needing a lot more in the second year as well. In first year, unfortunately, we didn't actually get to do much placement due to COVID, but when we could get out, I managed to get to a primary school that I'm still currently at now. A couple of my friends on the course went to nurseries, and I think another person went to a primary school as well. We had quite a mixed vary of what we wanted to do. At the end of first year, we then had to make a decision whether we chose to do assisted teaching or early years. We got loads of support from our tutors in regards to making that decision. It wasn't just, here's a piece of paper, sign it, off you go for the second year. And luckily, for the years going on now, hopefully COVID staying away, you get to do lots of different placements. You get to go to a nursery as well as a primary school. So you really get to understand which one you bond with more and you want to do. Because as some of us learn, going into a nursery is not what you think it is, nor is going into a school. So then going on to second year, with assisted teaching, it's such a new thing. A lot of people couldn't get their head around of exactly what we would do. But one of our first tasks that we all loved and was a great bonding experience is we actually got the opportunity to completely design our classroom. We spent, God knows, hours doing our classroom, printing, laminating, and all of that. So we got to do that for a lot of the start to get to know each other, because we were a mixture between 2 classes joining together. We were quite lucky there was only 8 of us, so quite a small amount. So we got to design our classroom, and then we moved on to, in second year, we only have 4 POs, so only 4 topics that we're really looking into. And they were supporting the class teacher. So how in your role, in your placement, What's your job? What are you there to do to make your teacher's life easier and to support those children who might need that extra support? We also looked at planning and reviewing educational opportunities. So this part we aimed it more at teacher training side of it, and looking at more of the national curriculum. And if you had to take over lessons, how would that work? And following planning of teachers as well. Then we looked at safeguarding again, as that is one of the biggest aspects of working with children, is you need to know how to protect them as well educationally and as a human being, how you can be there to protect them. And then also another one that you do is a big part of first year as well, is SEND, so support educational needs. So it's any children who might have extra support, so children with dyslexia, autism, anything like that, learning how to support those children. So you cover those 4 POs, and second year is less about sitting there listening to lectures and more about getting small parts of information and going off to your placement and practicing it actually in the flesh with the children. So we've managed to, luckily, since the beginning of this year, been out at placements. We do every Tuesday, we're at placement, and we have set block weeks where we go out for a whole week or 2 weeks and see spend time with the children and our teachers. So that's one of the nice things about year 2. You go from doing a lot of written work and a lot of lecturing learning in first year, and second year you get that opportunity to go out and practice it. And I personally don't see how you would do this course without that extensive time and work, because it's there to have that practical knowledge. And one of the really lovely things is going to placement so much is when you come back, one of our teachers could turn around and say, we're looking at forest school learning today. And I can guarantee, even though there's 8 of us in the class, one of us will have a story. One of us will have something one of the kids has done, or something we've done with our teachers, or anything. We will have a story to tell. So that's really nice, being able to actually bring physical knowledge and educational knowledge together, and it really solidifies everything you learn from first year up until where we are now. Everyday lessons really vary. I think in first year, from what I can remember and how it ran when we were at college, I think we only had one day that we were in 9 till 5. The rest of it, we were off on a Tuesday and a Thursday at placements. And then the rest of the time, I think we were in till 2, 3 maybe. So I think our Monday was till 5 o'clock, but you obviously get a lot of breaks in that time, and it's not guaranteed that you are in lessons 9 till 5. You can have breaks that are up to 2 hours long, so you have time to go out with your friends, socialise, go down into town, things like that, and actually have a break from your learning. Second year, I think our longest day is till 3:30, and that was today. We really liked in second year to take control of our learning. So today, for example, in the morning we were going for our exam prep, because we've got an exam after Easter. And then in the afternoon, we actually found a documentary on schools and the financial side of schools and the stress that teachers are under. And we watched that and took notes and talked about real world problems that are going on in schools at the moment, and discussed how we would deal with them as teachers. So yeah, the lessons aren't awful. It may seem like it when you're in there sometimes, that it does feel like you're just in that classroom constantly and you never leave. But in the long term of things, in regards to some A-level people I know doing A-levels, they are just back to back in a classroom constantly, and then they don't get time to pull their head up and actually breathe for a minute. Whereas you are going to be with the same people all the time. You're going to I've got friendships that I will carry on for the rest of my life from doing this course. The teachers we have, I don't think we could do this course without the staff on board as much as they are. And the relationships me and my friends have bonded with our tutors is amazing. And I think that's what's driven us a lot through this whole process, is you do go through some unpleasant experiences because you are in placement, you're in a real world nursery or school. There is going to be times where things are going to get brought up, or there is going to be things in your learning, especially safeguarding, that aren't the greatest to learn about, and having those tutors relationships to go to and talk to about, and those friendships within your classes, makes it easy to get through it. And a lot of us are still going on to do education. I spoke with the class today, so we've got 2 students going off to Winchester starting in September to do teacher training. We've got 2 students who are going on to part-time jobs as teaching assistants in schools. I'm going off to St Mary's Twickenham to do teacher training with one of my other friends, Chloe, on my course. We're going together, and the other student on our course is doing Open University and getting a child psychology degree as well. So most of us are doing teacher training, but some of us are going off in different directions as well. And this course doesn't, as we have learned over looking into things, doesn't just limit you to teacher training at all. If you then decided you want to go to a nursery, you could go do that, or you could go into child psychology, you could go into anything really relating to children, and you could go into the council and work in regards to the educational side of the council, and so on and so on. So yeah, an overall aspect of this, I think this is the future of going into education or teacher training or anything to do with children. I can't see this course ever taking a step back. It's only going to go forward and get stronger and stronger. So yeah, so that's everything I can think of to say about this course, apart from it's amazing.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for giving such a good sort of insight into what it's like to be a T-level student, and I know you're going to make a great primary school teacher one of these days when you're done, so thank you for that. So yeah, as Chloe mentioned, you know, I think she really captured the essence of a practical program, and how we really do link that theory and practice. And you know, I really like that Chloe also mentioned the relationships with tutors as well, which is really key to what we do generally across the college. So I'm also going to talk to you about the health pathway as well. So there is an opportunity to study health as well, and so just to talk about some related careers within the health pathway. So obviously after completing the T-level, you could go into emergency care, healthcare, or other types of care as well within the health industry. And just to note that all of these mention the word assistant, because these are related to a career that you might choose to go into after completing the T-level. Obviously, there is, again, that opportunity to go on to university, which we'll talk about a bit later on. So in terms of the core content, sorry, get my words out there. So we've got understanding the healthcare sector, person-centered care, health and wellbeing. So some real general subjects within health. But then we look more deep into things like anatomy and physiology, obviously an area that's very key at the minute in infection prevention and control as well. Then also there is a choice of 5 different occupational specialisms. Our most popular specialisms are the supporting the adult nursing team and supporting the midwifery team. I do think that supporting the mental health team will also be a popular one coming up in the future. And so it's particularly for those that are interested, say I definitely want to go and be a nurse, or I definitely want to be a midwife, or I want to work with children, take care of the health of children or sick children, or I might be involved in mental health or occupational therapy. So it's really exciting to be able for a learner to leave school and to be thinking, I do want to be a midwife, or I do want to be a nurse. And then in the second year to be able to really focus in on those particular roles. Then I'm going to pass you over to my colleague Astine, who's going to talk to you about our science and healthcare science pathway.
Hi, thank you, Claire. Hi, my name is Azadin Riyash, and I am working with the science team. So, for the science path, the science T levels, as Claire said before, there are different related careers. For example, here you can look at food manufacturing inspector, for example, or anything to do with lab research, lab technician, and also meteorologist. I will talk a bit later about meteorology, which is just part of physics. In terms of learning, so the T levels is a 2 years course. During the first year, we have what we call the core content, and basically it will be made of 2 parts. The first part is studying physics, biology, and chemistry. So we look at, for example, cells, we look at respiration, we look at titration in chemistry, we look at waves and optics in physics. We also look at some different topics like scientific methodology. We look at experimental techniques, ethics and science, how to store scientific information, and so on. So that is the core content. Then for the second year, you can progress to different specialisms. And in the science, we have 3 different specialisms. The first one is food science. It's quite interesting and pathway, and it is about the science behind the food supply chain. So it gets really complicated, but very interesting. Then we have also very familiar specialism, laboratory science. A lot of students are interested in this because that is, if you want, general studies. And then we have meteorology science. Meteorology is the science of measurement, so it is basically part of physics. It deals with calibration, with legal meteorology, and so on. So if you are interested in physics, that can be a good pathway for you. We also have the healthcare science pathway. And there are different related careers attached to the healthcare science. For example, healthcare science assistants, radiography, which is something which is always in demand, and also sterile service technician. And again, in terms of content, it is a 2 years course. During the first year, we look at the core content, for example, understanding the healthcare science sector, and also quite a lot of emphasis on biology and providing person-centered care. And we have also other topics such as recording data, health and safety, and also good scientific practice. When you finish the first year, you can. We have only one specialism, one pathway, and that is assisting with healthcare science. Just to explain how the science and healthcare science are assessed, during the first year, you will have 2 exams, and then you have what we call the employer set project, which is a very interesting assignment. You will be given a particular topic, and you will be asked to research the topic, plan experiments, for example, and then record, make a presentation, record the presentation, and also peer review. And that's it from me. Claire, back to you.
Thanks, Azadine. So you might be thinking, why should I choose Farnborough College of Technology? Just to say, as I've mentioned before, we already have extensive relationships with our local employers. There's some listed there. The list goes on and on and on. You know, we really are far-reaching as well in Surrey, Hampshire, Berkshire too. And we're developing that, you know, even still now, to make sure that we have some relevant, real strong industry placements. And, you know, our local employers really do have an impact. You know, so for example, in one of our classes today, we had a year 1 class teacher do a Zoom call with our assisting teaching group to support them with some of their exam preparation, and so really good connections with employers. I think Chloe mentioned also about sort of relationship with tutors. You know, all of our staff have got backgrounds, have got experience of working within different areas of science, within areas of education, childcare, and also health. We have a nurse currently who's still practicing as a nurse. We also have a midwife who teaches on our programmes as well. And we do have some really excited dedicated facilities for our T-level subject areas. As an example, so we've got our new MedTech Centre, you'll see there, we've got some simulation dolls. Also, the one on the right, Lucy, she does actually give birth. Everyone's very excited to see that, and also does put a lot of people off as well. We also do have an early years simulation classroom, you can see an example there. And we also have 2 dedicated science labs as well that support the delivery of this more practical programme to really bring it to life. So just to talk about what happens after you finish. So as I mentioned, you can go out to that occupation you know, as an assistant or in different roles as we've explored in this presentation. Or there is an opportunity to go on to higher level study. That could be higher education at universities. It could be degree level apprenticeships or higher level apprenticeships as well. So lots of exciting opportunities for progression. We do also have our own university centre at Farnborough. So we do have 2 degrees that you can also progress onto in early years, and so we have an early childhood studies and education and practice as well, which is more work-based programme. So there are options to stay with us all the way up to level 6, and you know, potentially to look at going out into work after that, or a career, or also onto postgraduate study as well. So just to comment, sometimes we often get questions about what happens with university. So all T levels follow this UCAS Tariff. So UCAS is sort of the college, it's the college, university and college application system, and basically a lot of university programs ask for a certain amount of UCAS points, and so you can see there how many UCAS. So if you're interested in going on to university, you can look at that as well. So in terms of what happens next, so you just have to go onto our website. Website's listed on the slide, and then search for whichever T-level pathway that you're interested in. You just have to choose your course, so whether that be health, education, childcare, healthcare science, or I'd say health, I think, yeah. So, or science, sorry, and then just add it into your basket, and there's a few questions you can apply online, and you'll have a short interview. We do have a summer college, which we really enjoy meeting our new learners, so we really encourage that, and then we have enrolment in August, once you've got your GCSE results. Just to note about what's happening next. So you might be interested in construction and engineering, or digital sort of IT, or business and accounting following on. And then I'll see if there's any questions. So I'll go back to Stephen.
Thank you, Claire. Good stuff. Yeah, we have had a couple of questions, and if you are thinking you'd like to ask any, please ask now, because there is a delay. So there's 30 seconds or so between us seeing the messages. So we've had one question. I think this is one for you, Claire. Would the T-level in health be the correct pathway to become a paramedic?
It's a good question, and I would say either the health or the healthcare science pathways would lead into a career in paramedic sites, or emergency care, or emergency medicine. It's not an occupational specialism. So I personally do think that the healthcare science route may be a better route into working as ambulance crew or technicians or paramedics, but you could also choose the health pathway, and I would choose the adult nursing route as a generic health. But personally, I do think that the healthcare science route may be a better route for if you're looking to be a paramedic.
Perfect, thank you. And another person has asked, where would the placement likely be? And I think that came in as while you were presenting on the science. So did you have any information on the placements that people have gone on?
Yeah, so for the work placement, as far as the science and healthcare science are concerned, we do 2 weeks work placement at the end of the first year, the end. So last week of June, first week of July, and we do the rest of the weeks during the second year.
Perfect. Hopefully that's answered your question. Okay. So next up, somebody asked, what are the entry levels? I think this is the entry requirements to get in. So I can talk about this one very briefly to cover both. So they are 5 GCSEs at grades 4 to 9, and that needs to include maths and English. I'm sure Claire or Azadin will jump in if you've got anything different for your specific T levels.
No, they have the correct requirements for me.
Perfect. Okay, so someone has asked, does early years in childcare lead to a primary school teacher after you go to university? So one for you, Claire.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Chloe is going to do. So the route would be the 2 years on the T-level programme. So it would be you choose the education childcare. Our suggestion would be choosing the assisting teaching, occupational specialism for your second year. Really get to look in a lot more detail at the role of teachers and teaching assistants, and then to look at applying to do primary teaching with QTS, so qualified teacher status, at university, or you can go and do another degree. You can do early childhood studies, which would be 3 years, and then you could do a PGCE, so a postgraduate certificate in education, to achieve your teacher training qualification.
Perfect, thank you. And we've had another question. How do you sign up for summer school? I can field that one. Everybody who applies and is offered a place is invited to summer school. It's essentially 1 day in June where you can attend as though you were more or less a full student. So you'll have kind of a small class, so you get a taste of what the lessons are like. You'll get to meet your new classmates, you'll meet your teachers, and you get to find your way around the college so that you can you know, understand where to go and who to ask for help if you need it when you join. We've just had a couple of new ones come through, so let's just have a look. Let's just publish those. So we've got, where would the placement be if paramedic was the ambition, Claire?
Yeah, so we do work with the South East Coast Ambulance Service. So there is an opportunity to actually do your placement. That will be in the second year. They prefer students to be closer to 18 than 17, obviously, because there's quite a lot going on, and they're looking for a certain level of maturity. We are also developing links with the Red Cross and St John's Ambulance, but there is also an option to look at emergency medicine. We've got an excellent relationship with Frimley Park Hospital, our local hospital, and so there might be an opportunity to work in sort of A&E, resus, places like that as a starting point as well.
Perfect, thank you. And if anyone has any other questions, do pop them in now. Someone has asked, another one for you, Claire, for the mental health nursing route. I think they're asking about the progression route. Would it be the T level in health, then to specialise in mental health, then progress into university?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, health, and then supporting the mental health team, and then you would look to choose an area of specialism. So it might be mental health nursing, it could be counselling, it could be psychiatry, things like that. So but if you're looking to be particularly a mental health nurse, then you would need to do nursing. It's probable that you may do a foundation year of nursing, and then once you're in nursing, then you will specialise into mental health nursing as an area. But yeah, absolutely, that is the route.
Perfect, thank you. We haven't had any new questions in, so I think that brings our short webinar to an end. So that just leaves me to say thank you to everybody who has joined us this evening, and a special thank you to Chloe, who has given up her time to talk so eloquently and so energetically about her experience as a student. So massive thank you to Chloe. We've also recorded this, so if you missed anything at the beginning, if you joined in just after it had started, or you just want to catch up on any other information, we're going to make it available on the website and on social media so you can watch it back there. If you do have any questions that you think of after this has ended, you can always find the T-level you're most interested in on the website, and there's the option there to ask a question. It'll say ask a question. You can pop in any thoughts or questions you might have, and that'll come direct to Claire or Azadin. They can then get back to you with anything else you might need to know. Obviously, you can make an application from the same page, so do go ahead and make an application if you think this is for you. You can apply to more than one course, you can apply to more than one college, so don't worry about committing to anything at this stage, because you've got plenty of time to rethink your options and talk to people for advice if you want to clarify a few things later down the line. We have had just one new question, so I'm just going to bring that one. Claire, this is one for you. BTEC or T-level for health, which is better?
I think if you are interested in a career specifically in health, the health T-level is the best thing to choose. If you're not quite sure if it's health or social care, so for example, social care would be working with the elderly, working with the sick, I mean, sick in a particularly in a certain sort of role within that, or working with people with learning difficulties or special educational needs, then health and social care would be the choice for you. But if you are interested in working in the NHS or within some kind of health role, then the health T-level is the right one to choose.
Thank you so much. Okay, as mentioned before, go to the website for any further information, and we hope to see you at the college soon. Thank you very much.